I'm not the only one that has an issue with the black and red because I refuse to call them bad. The black and red ones that they just released. Now, some people are saying, okay, they are based on his PE, his mid version, which may or may not be true. I bet you money. I'm gonna give it about 3 or 4 years. I bet you they're gonna come with an even more closer to the OG black and red ones. I'm gonna give it about 3 or 4 years. I think they will.
I don't think they can.
Why they can't?
This was as close.
This Jordan brand, like what?
This was as close
else
as
can you
they
do?
gonna get, man.
I bet you money.
This was 2 years. It took them 2 years to get to this point. So you saying it's gonna take them?
This is where I call
another 2
bullshit on
years?
that because I'm like, one, if it took you 2 years to come up with that version of it, 'cause I know everybody's happy because I think it's better than the 2016. Do I think it's the best version we've gotten so far? Yes. I agree with that.
definitely.
But the Chicago ones, the 2013. All right, we could drop it with the Nike Air Brandon because we dropped every other one this year with the Nike Air Brandon, but we're not. We're going to give you the Jordan branding on this shoe just so we can drop it 3 years from now with the Nike Air Brandon, which is exactly what they did. I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to drop a higher cut black and red Jordan 1. I'm going to give it about 3 or 4 years.
Well, as we know, there's certain things that they can't replicate anymore.
Yeah.
That they just cannot get the specs perfectly.
Yeah.
To me, these were. I've looked at my OGs.
Yeah, your comparison.
And the heel and everything,
Mm-hmm.
as close as it can be. The materials aren't the same. They can't get the cut the same. They can't even get the Wings logo.
Yeah, I don't know why
on
that's weird
there
to
the
me.
same. If you look at it, it's
But see,
still bigger.
Here's my
than
beef
on
with
the
that.
originals.
Here's my beef with that because I feel like they had it perfect. Like these 85 cuts prior to that version, from the toe box on back, I thought it was perfection. From the cut, the size of the swoosh to the height, the cut, I thought it was perfection. Only beef I had was the toe box because it has like this square.
That's how
type of look.
my OGs are. My OGs are squarish.
These look more like the 95s than like the 85s, to me.
Mm.
But that was my only beef. So it was like, so why deviate from that? Like, because you sold us on an 85 cut as being the closest, just to come back like a couple years now, like, oh no, really, these are the closest now. And it's like,
I think they meant this. What? And let me know what y'all think. I think they meant on this black and red pair. This is the closest to the black and red,
right?
Not all of the.
I'm just saying for context, this is the same people that sold us on one story just to admit that this was the real story, just to revert back to the old story.
But they've been telling lies since the beginning.
That's why I don't take them at face value.
To be honest with you, they've lied to you and you still bought their product.
He ain't lying.
There was a point in time where it was like you were so thirsty for an OG that it was like, okay, even though this ain't 100% up to snuff, it's better than if I didn't have it at all, it's better than not having it. Or if I did have it and it's slightly better, then that justifies me paying $200. But I'm kind of like now, I think it does depend on the shoe. Like the Black Cement 3s, I had the 2018s. And so like the lower elephant print and, the shape was enough for me personally to be like, okay, because the 3s are like probably one of my top 5.
You got lucky enough to get a correct pair.
Yeah, right. And so the Black Cement 3s are probably top 5 Jordans for me. And so it was like, okay, like, yeah, this shoe. I passed on the black, the black metallic 5s, the 3M.
Why?
Just because the 3M wasn't enough to sell me on that shoe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I still have what was it, 2018 when they dropped?
2016 was the last time you got metallics. Yeah, metallic.
And I'm looking at my shoes and they look, pretty crispy, and I'm just kind of like, is it worth $200 getting these? Like, they're essentially the same shoe minus a few bits more extra 3M. Like, it wasn't enough for me.
Now, that was a must for me.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and get them. And I actually got them gifted to me. Being in that industry. And last year, 2024, was so many shoes that they released that they thought wouldn't sit that sat. Don't you think it's a difference in 2025 with what they send to each store?
I believe that the reason why they're selling now because you're getting more original colorways, which is something we were back in the basement. Me and him was going back and forth, which I was saying like, hey, that's the only thing that really sells is the original colorways.
Yeah,
we got add that to my direct to consumer win list too. But that and they also kind of scaling back a little bit, but I think they kind of like nickel and diming you.
The black toes.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thought on why they sat? Is it people don't know what Air Jordan was on the side?
I believe that if it's they used to, well, this is what happens when you have so much. It reminds me of Method Man when he went to Summer Jam and he performed all those classic records and everybody just stood there because they wasn't around to see the impact or they'll know the songs. So when they present it to you now, you don't. So going back to that shoe, yes, we may know what it is, but when they get it, it's like, wow, for the last 10 years I've been in sneaker culture, all my Jordan ones that had a logo wing on the side.
There's a level of psychology in everything, right? When you take something away that people are familiar with and you replace it with something that is perceived to be less than, because it just says Air Jordan on there, so it's like, okay, yeah, he did some promo pictures. That appeals to such a niche group of people, and I felt like, and we talked about it before, where I felt like the product run should have been swapped. They should have made the number of black toes that they made should have been for the black and reds.
Of course.
And then the number of black and reds should have been for the number for the black toes. Because like I said, that was such a niche shoe. Think about it. Like the reason why like the OG 3s, when you see that Nike Air in the back, it hit different than that Jumpman logo. You know what I'm saying?
But had they told the story right, this is what was pitched to MJ.
They told the story. It's just people don't care.
Hey, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
No, they didn't pitch it like they pitched
With
the black and reds where they had that damn violation and all that bull. They could have pitched the black toes a lot different, and the outcome would have been better.
Also, I think people fail to realize too is that back in 2015, 2016, they sold Jordan 1s, and I know firsthand when I was like, as a manager selling those shoes, they had a gray pair with the black swoosh with the white bottom, was 2 other Jordan 1s that just said Air Jordan on the side, and nobody would touch them. So going back now, if you got that data from 2015, 16,
I remember those.
You know what I'm saying? And nobody touched them, why would you do it now?
I think the masses, when you take that Wings logo off, it hit different. Like I said, like when you see Nike Air on the back of a 4 or a 3 or a 6 or a 5, like it hits different than that Jumpman logo. Same shoe.
Most definitely.
But it just hit different. I think that Wings logo not being there was the equivalent of seeing the Jumpman logo in place of the Nike Air.
Well, but I think the other thing would be, didn't the black and reds come out the week prior?
Yeah,
the black toes.
Yeah.
So I think that also played a part into it because you had
too close together.
And I think, like what you said with the masses, you had the mass population of people that they wanted the black and reds because that's all that they were hyped up for.
Yeah.
And then when those dropped in such limited quantities, yeah. I mean, it was almost like a, well, hey, you couldn't get this, so we're going to offer you this. And I think
like
people,
they boycotted it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think people turned their nose up and they was like, well, that's not what I wanted, so I'm not going to get them.
Now that we know that the Airship was the actual band shoe.
But you still called the recent.
The 2009s?
No, you still called the 2025s.
Band?
The B word.
Yeah, by mistake. Like if I'm conscious of it, I'm calling them black and reds. But yeah, I might slip up and say it because, like, I mean, they got like what 40 years of them calling it band, so it's
that whole story.
It's bullshit.
He ain't lying.
That's the first time they try to spill it over to them Space Jam 11s in 2018, which we're rarely playoff PEs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like them, and they try to get off one more time by calling the Chicago Nines and Space Jam 9s.
They are not.
So they try to get out. They try to get out.
I forgot about that.
They try to get all that off.
They were Chicago's until Space Jam.
No, here's the thing. I can forgive the Space Jam to a degree because he actually.
Now those are banned.
Yeah,
because remember
those are banned now, right?
Those are banned 9s.
Yeah, because he's wearing the
it's because they banned him on the statue.
Yeah, there you
go.
Yeah. But no, like this, because technically he did wear those, but those weren't the release pair that we got. And was that 2001?
Mm-hmm.
So there, I could kind of forget that. But those are Space Jam 2s because what's his name came out and played in them? What's my man's name?
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. Like Space Jam 2s now.
No, they the Bill Murray.
Right.
But here's the crazy thing about it. The movie came out in 96. You retro that shoe probably twice since then, right?
The two?
The 9s. I'm talking about the 9s. right?
And it's only one time that you called them Space Jam.
Yes, and you waited to 2016 to call them Space Jams.
They're ignorant. That's ignorant.
But to my point,
that was
that's storytelling.
Yeah,
like I said,
you tried it. What you did was you tried to take the momentum of the Space Jam with them 11s, the playoff PE 11s. That's how I'm gonna address them because that's what they were. You just put Space Jam marketing in them to sell them. And you just try to take some of that momentum and push it over the 9s to sell them too, because that shoe came out a week or two before around the 11s.
This is what I love about editing the show sometimes is that stuff gets like drilled into your head. And like he was saying on the show we just posted, where he was talking like who said it? Like, you know, like got the cheat code, but it was like, what's the point of having a cheat code if you don't have the right person in place to push the button?
Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button. You heard what she said.
That's the stuff that matters if you got the right people in house
that actually know. They got people that wasn't even born then.
Well, that's what or care. Or care because
they can know it. Just
I mean, Google is free.
Because you know
you can find out anything you want to find.
You know what I wish? I wish I had seen this video in real time when we were talking about the black and red ones. It was an interview Jock Slade did with somebody from Jordan Brand. Do you know why they had come up with the price of $250?
Just because?
That was his, like, he was like, well, you know, everybody else is charging $250. So basically that was his attitude.
For a Jordan 1, this is a considerable price jump. What from the brand side justifies that big of a price bump for this shoe in particular?
It's, I think, a nod to the level of intention that went into the product. So the amount of time, effort, obviously the materials, which are elevated, the packaging, which is slightly elevated. And if we look at the competitive landscape, there are people that charge much higher prices for fakes. If we look at high fashion brands, there are numbers of, fashion brands that have referenced this style that still charge 3 times that price. Mm-hmm. And then if we look at the original, you've got 85 selling for 4, 5, and even 6 figures. So I think relative to the landscape of the model, this seems like a reasonable price, considering the fact that you will be able to wear it for a long time. It is an investment piece. And like I said, it just has that sort of cultural and historical legacy that I think sets it apart from other shoes. We're looking at this kind of like art rather than simply a shoe.
And I was like, I remember seeing that and I was just like, yo, like,
I just
that was the most...
I'm asking because I'm like, is he qualified to have that?
He was signed off to go to that. Nike not just sending anybody to talk to Jock Slade because they got reached out to.
Thank you.
But to be able to provide that answer of
that answer, like you had to be tone deaf as fuck.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like either you really
like we knew you thought that, but to say it out loud is like, bro.
But to be shocked. But sometimes the mouth is an extension of the mind, right? So you send him out there. You sent him out there to say that, but it's like, why would he say that? But that's how the whole brand thinks. They tone deaf with Black History Month collection, how that was executed. They tone deaf on how who to promote and how they do release their women's line. They don't even do it no more. Like they just like those are the thing. They have their tone deaf moments, which is why they provide probably 35% of the content we talk about on here. So I mean, those are the things, and we only say that not out of to be spiteful and be condescending because we really care. We grew up on the brand, and it's part of Black culture, and it's like I shouldn't have to plead with you to tell your story better than you. You know what I'm saying?
That's why we don't sit up here and talk about Under Armour for 20 minutes because none of us give a fuck.
God damn.
But and
they sent you some cams.
Oh, they did, right? But that was like 8 years ago. We always quote like movies that like Guru always quote and bang, like, victory has defeated you.
Peace has cost you strength. Victory has defeated you.
It makes me think of another Batman quote, ironically the same movie, but it was like when Catwoman was on the roof and she was like, I'll shoot him. And he's like, they hear you, they just don't care.
Stay back. I'm not playing. bluffing.
They know. They just don't care.
And it was like, that's how we feel on Joy Brand sometimes. Like, yo, they hear you, they just don't care.